Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Anand Kekre. I'm planning to take this session on trends in storage and data protection in today's cloud native world. A quick introduction of mine. I'm currently working in Veritas as Senior Director and Head of Technical Innovations. This is my second stint at Veritas. I'm a computer science graduate from IIT Bombay. My first job was with Tata IBM that I started in 1994 after I got recruited through campus recruitment. After a short stint in IBM, I joined Veritas as one of the founding members in Pune when Veritas was starting its office in India. I worked primarily on Veritas Volume Manager, Veritas Cluster Volume Manager, and other storage foundation products like Veritas Cluster Server, Veritas File System. I was also chief architect for Storage Foundation for a couple of years and was also part of the global CTO office. I left Veritas around 2005 when it got merged with Symantec. After Veritas, Symantec, I did two startups. The first one called Reconyx was in data loss prevention appliances. We got acquired by McAfee in 2008. After that, I was part of McAfee for 2 years. In 2010, I started my own startup called Voltize, which was leader in enterprise file sharing and digital rights management. Around 3 years back, we got acquired by Giga Media, a US-based company. And last year, I rejoined Veritas. So feeling good to be back to the roots. All my career has been in hardcore enterprise technology that included storage, data protection, and security. I hold 60 US patents in these areas. My role in Veritas includes defining and executing innovation roadmap, strategic innovation, analyzing market trends, market disruptions, and searching for new market opportunities for the company in terms of product roadmap, in terms of innovation, partnership, and mergers and acquisition. This is the agenda for today. In today's applications that are being developed and deployed in web scale fashion, it is no surprise that these cloud native applications are growing in popularity. They simplify complex application deployment and development while simultaneously enabling businesses to build, deploy, and scale them at a faster rate. Here are some of the trends that you would see and that I plan to cover in this presentation. The first one, containers and Kubernetes, how these things are changing the application development and deployment. Disaggregated architecture, which is going to be driven by the scale of compute. Multi-cloud, which is becoming an absolutely must requirement for enterprises. Software-defined nature of storage and data protection. How storage types like block, file, and object will change. Storage tiering, which is absolutely required to balance the cost and performance. Security and ransomware, which are becoming one of the key requirements today. And finally, multi-tier applications. Please note that this is not in any specific order. Here are the key characteristics of cloud native applications. They are microservices based. As we'll see, this cloud native fits very well with containers and Kubernetes. Unlike traditional applications, which typically use relational databases, file systems, block devices underneath, these cloud native applications use multiple data services. Many of them are NoSQL kind of databases, document databases, object store, and so on. So storage and data protection solutions for cloud native applications need to make sure that they maintain consistency across all these data services when it comes to things like snapshots, backup, restore, disaster recovery, migration, and application resiliency. These applications are highly scalable. They can scale to hundreds or even thousands of nodes. Hence, the use of commodity hardware and blade servers are becoming quite common. Also, these applications have different scalability parameters. They can scale up and down very rapidly, unlike the traditional applications. If you see, cloud native architectures are particularly popular when applications are predominantly newly developed. This is regardless of the infrastructure. That means they can be running on private, public, multi-cloud, hybrid, edge, or on-premise. Whether it is a web application, IoT, machine learning, or for that matter, any kind of applications, the cloud native seems to have no alternatives in terms of flexibility, manageability, and developer experience. Thus, the cloud native paradigm is also giving rise to more and more opportunities to optimize existing applications and decomposing them into microservices, as well as to develop new applications natively in Kubernetes. Especially in enterprise environment, the use of these tools is so widely embraced that Kubernetes, containers, and cloud native have become the new norm or have become synonymous to each other. Let's see now how the new trends and shift in mindset in storage and data protection ecosystem because of this emergence of cloud native world. I would say the growth of such cloud native applications is driven by containers and Kubernetes. And hence, I would call it the first and the most influential factor in the cloud native world. More and more enterprise solutions are being developed for use in container environments like Kubernetes. If you go back 20 years, IT industry has seen a wide range of transformation. Over these years, IT has transformed from an environment of almost no virtualization to 90% virtualization using virtual machines. The key advantage of moving towards VMs that time or over a period of 20 years was the reduction in data center footprint and efficient utilization of resources, of course, for the cost purpose. With VMs, you can fit more applications on a fewer physical machines by running multiple VMs on the same physical box. And you can also add up more and more VMs on servers when they are underutilized. Because of that transformation, the storage and data protection solution did not have to make significant changes from what they used to be on the physical machines. In terms of applications, VMs solved the challenges of resource utilization, but the complexity of application development and IT operations stayed the same between physical and virtual machines. You still need to look into every aspect of application management: dependencies, versioning, orchestration, updates, upgrades, and migration of application components. So everything was still the same challenge. Now container seems to have come to rescue. And in last few years, this is completely changing the application development and application IT operations. And so the storage and data protection solutions will also have to make similar changes. Containers are now playing a major role in the context of fulfilling DevOps, microservices, and cloud strategy for enterprises. In addition to the huge advantage of supporting these aspects of modern application development and application deployment, containers package applications more efficiently. This results in faster development, faster delivery. Even though the containers actually share host operating system, whether on the physical server or virtual machine, it appears as if the containerization is providing operating system level virtualization. This allows distributed applications to run with their own set of configurations, with their own set of resources, and that also without launching and managing the heavy virtual machines. This encapsulates application within a partition with dedicated resources, dedicated libraries, configuration files, and dependencies. These containers have a few appealing qualities of speed and portability. Containers are often described as very lightweight because they don't have to boot up an operating system like virtual machine has to. Containers can spin up very quickly. The other common advantage associated with containers is the portability. They can run on top of virtual machine, they can run on top of physical or bare metal servers, in public cloud, on-premise, hybrid, or edge. And also they can move across any of these, right? That's making it more multi-cloud kind of environment. Containerization allows deployment teams to move fast, deploy software efficiently, and operate at an unprecedented rate. Here is what industry analysts and different surveys have to say. By 2022, 75% of companies will have containerized applications in production. Currently, it is 30%. This means enterprises have already started shifting their legacy applications to containers through either lift and shift or through some form of refactoring. But whenever we talk to our customers, most of these new enterprises or these enterprises actually are building the new applications cloud native way in containers and particularly in some flavor or the other of Kubernetes. Container infrastructure software market is forecasted to grow from 131 million in 3 years back to around 1.5 billion next year. And most of the growth is coming from on-premise deployment. This is very interesting number. One survey of enterprises indicate that 60% are already running Kubernetes in production and 64% of them are on-premise deployments. This means enterprises are embracing public cloud as a whole, but there will be some on-premise or private cloud deployment always, which means you will see more and more hybrid or multi-cloud deployments, and we'll cover one of this in one of our next slides. Also, recent CNCF survey indicates that containers reached 84% use in production in 2020, up from 23% when the first survey was conducted in 2016. From the storage industry, the container and cloud native trend represents a significant inflection point. Containerized applications require a combination of primary and secondary storage, but because of dynamic nature of containers, traditional storage technologies of file, block, object are not ideal. We'll see a number of trends emerge as storage and data protection vendors adapt to support the rise of cloud native applications and the subsequent change in application and cloud infrastructure models. They will have to address the increasing scale and agility demand of container-based data services that will include the traditional transactional databases, NoSQL databases, block, file, and object, as well as the backup, long-term archives, and seamless failures across data centers and clouds and so on will be very prominent. The new container-centric storage products will enable traditional data-centric applications, as well as object storage and backup, and to access container storage interface, CSI, type persistent volumes. And CSI is particularly gaining a significant movement as an industry. More and more storage and data protection vendors are rebuilding their software solutions to become more agile through Kubernetes and containers. Similar to the cloud native applications, these storage and data protection solutions will be elastic in nature and will be spawned as per requirements of the workload. For example, for a weekly backup, which is typically done over the weekend, the data protection pieces will be scaled up only when required. That means only during the weekends. Containers and Kubernetes that way will fit very well in this model. These solutions will have to work on disaggregated model and will be multi-cloud, unlike traditional solutions, which were based on hyper-converged architecture. And all these things will radically reduce the complexity of large-scale Kubernetes deployments, and I'll cover these aspects in the coming slides. In cloud native world, disaggregated architecture is now more prominent as against hyperconverged, which was the earlier trend. This is because of the nature of compute requirements for these cloud native applications. These applications are, as I said, highly scalable. They scale up and down very rapidly, as against the storage used by these applications. These applications generally would scale up and down very rapidly, while if you look at the storage, typically it will scale up in a linear fashion. Generally, storage doesn't scale down. Hence, most of the deployments of these cloud native applications will require more compute nodes that can be provisioned very rapidly and deprovisioned very rapidly for the cost reason. And hence, there will be nodes in the cluster which will be purely for compute purpose. And also because of the cost reason, it will be cost effective to have them on a commodity hardware or server blades. While some of the nodes will be either hyper-converged the way it is today, or some of the nodes can be pure storage nodes. Here is a picture that shows a typical hyper-converged cluster. And you see that every node in the cluster contributes to both storage and compute. And typically, this is a homogeneous environment. You will have a storage layer that provides a global storage pool carved out of these direct attached storage or SAN storage to the applications that are running on these nodes. In traditional application, storage and compute world would linearly scale and typically in tandem. And hence you would, whenever you run out of the capacity, you would simply add a node and increase the storage and compute capacity. And this is a hyper-converged way. Here is the one showing disaggregated deployment. Hence, you see the nodes that are compute only. Some nodes are hyper-converged and some may be only storage nodes. This is also in line with the cloud native applications where some of the microservices may not use storage at all. They can be stateless. Some applications may use object store. Some application may use NoSQL kind of data services, and which are typically API based. Also, when deployed in public cloud where you incur cost of instances on a pay as you use basis, you would like to deprovision these compute nodes whenever they are not required. And that's the reason we will see disaggregated architecture dominating in the cloud native world. And for the same reason, the storage and data protection software will also have to be deployed in such a disaggregated fashion. Multi-cloud. Enterprises have already started embracing multi-cloud. According to a survey, over 90% of enterprises reported having multi-cloud strategy, and most of them are taking hybrid approach. That means combining the use of public cloud with private cloud. And hence the line between on-prem, private cloud and public cloud is blurring. And OpenShift is gaining popularity as Kubernetes deployments and PaaS solutions, especially in hybrid kind of environment. It is expected that over half of all entire applications will be deployed via containers in hybrid cloud or multi-cloud environments, which is a significant number. If this is also dictated by the data governance objectives, where you would like to have resiliency from failure of a site or failure of a data center or non-availability of cloud. Most of the applications will be based on the idea of seamlessly tying on-premise, public cloud, private cloud, and edge storage into a single architecture. Another interesting aspect is disaster recovery. The need for disaster recovery across two physical data centers will slowly diminish going forward in favor of public cloud. So instead, hybrid cloud DR solutions that manage synchronized copies of critical data across on-prem data centers and public cloud will enable IT leaders to avoid the significant costs that are required to maintain and service two remote locations for DR purpose. And hence there will be a significant amount of dollars saving because of the use of public cloud as one of the data centers. Multi-cloud being focused, things will be more software defined going forward for storage and data protection, particularly storage part. All the services related to storage management and protection of data will be defined by the storage stack, which in most cases would run on commodity hardware, as I mentioned earlier. Definitely, the storage hardware vendors will have to respond to this with their hardware optimized to run some storage stack, but a lot of functionality will actually go into software stack. Or there may be some proprietary hardware inside more commodity hardware to improve storage performance. And we are seeing some startups doing that. But the storage service themselves will be defined in software, and this will also make storage layer more vendor agnostics, which is good for the customers. Now, what storage types? With the explosion of unstructured data, object storage is becoming the standard for the mass capacity storage, and it offers significant advantage over file servers and file shares. Applications can benefit from greater intelligence incorporated in object stores, and hence it provides more value over the files. Object storage will be focused for new applications in combination with block storage to provide scale and performance in a symbiotic fashion. Many legacy file applications are also migrating to object storage infrastructure to take advantage of the economics of scale that object storage has to provide. And therefore, the object storage is becoming the de facto standard for capacity storage, for very high capacity storage, which these cloud native applications will use. They are quickly augmenting and displacing the file storage due to improved economic efficiencies and benefits and scalability. Almost 20 years ago, the object storage was treated like a dumb but extraordinarily scalable repository for storing the data. All the intelligence, metadata, and annotations were held in a separate kind of databases, maybe relational database. This structure worked well for some time, but with the exponential growth of data volumes, with billions of objects just sitting in the object store, with two systems, one for data and one for metadata, it is becoming complex and unmanageable. As a result, there is an increasing need for embedding the crucial metadata into objects or along with objects as well. And hence, we will see object stores becoming more and more intelligent with the ability to do indexing, classification, workflows, integration with workflows, so on. Object storage is well suited to the growth of cloud platforms in particular and the big data environment for the modern world. Ultimately, customers want a scalable, agile system that can handle the challenges of modern unstructured data. One of the drawbacks of object store is that it cannot mutate individual pieces. That means I cannot open an object just very quickly and write a few bytes to it, just like you do on a block storage or file storage. So we'll see some innovation in this space where the objects will be made more immutable, more writable, and of course with performance characteristics. For a certain set of business workloads, performance will remain a key determiner of storage technology, and block storage is best suited for it. Think of workloads such as online transactions, massive data analytics, or big data or IoT. All of them are very performance sensitive, very latency sensitive. And that's the reason the block storage will still be critical part of the storage stack for so many critical business critical applications that are performance sensitive. Files will continue to stay in existence, but file has serviced legacy applications and provided robust architecture for years. So for some applications, I think it is more suited than the heavy object store. So they will also continue to play their role. As you can think, the storage system that consists of all high performance storage is likely to be more expensive. And a storage system that consists of all mass capacity, right, is likely to be not as performant as it will be required. And that's the reason you will see more of kind of a tiering of storage to strike the most efficient balance between the cost and performance. And also with the advent of additional storage class technologies these days, the new storage architecture will have to extract the most value out of all these storage classes. And hence these storage classes will be given, will have more kind of a balancing between the cost and performance. So you would expect more and more hierarchical tiering in which the hot data resides on a high cost, high performance media, and less frequently accessed data resides on affordable mass capacity media. This will happen in all types of storage, that is block, object, and file. And when you talk about block, lot of data services like NoSQL, transactional will reside on the block. So effectively, it will cover all the data services. You should also expect that the backup solutions will also leverage this type of tiering, such that the data that is likely to be restored will be readily available in high performance storage, low latency storage, and that will be something that will be accessed very rarely, will go into long-term archival storage, which is cost-effective, something like Amazon Glacier. Ransomware is causing mayhem for enterprises these days. Now, these attackers are not only going on after the bigger targets and demanding multi-million-dollar ransoms, but small-time attackers are also getting into the act because they see this as a quick money and also want a piece of action. Storage vendors are trying to adopt important security technologies to protect data from cybersecurity, whether the data is at rest, that data is at transit, or while it is in use. This includes ransomware protection in particular to ensure that the data in your backup or archival can be safely restored and remains unmutable in case of any ransomware attack. Also, this should include something like air gapping of secondary storage from primary storage to prevent attacks on backup or archival data. This is to make data protection solution as a last line of defense against such attacks. So all archival backup storage will have to be immutable and with the air gap. Every storage and data protection vendor is now putting a huge emphasis on these security aspects of storage to complement the security procedures of enterprises. Multi-tier applications, we'll see more and more multi-tier applications, each of them cloud native in nature, and each of them using multiple storage types, multiple data services like relational databases, NoSQL databases, object storage, and so on. You can think of these applications forming something like a virtual business service group. So provisioning and management of storage and data protection for such multi-tier applications will be done in a coherent fashion to provide continuous high availability and reduce frequency and duration of service disruptions. And also these deployments are likely to be across clouds or across on-prem and cloud. So the storage and data protection solutions need to make sure that they maintain consistency across these data services when it comes to things like snapshots, backup, restore, disaster recovery, application resiliency, and migration. So the storage data protection vendors like Veritas are embracing these trends, and you would have already started seeing these trends in many of our offerings. For this, some of the existing products are being refactored and some of the new solutions are being developed and being offered in a completely cloud native way. So with this, I end my today's presentation. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box there, or you have my email address, anand.kekre@veritas.com. And so, thank you.